I did it. Hit a stationary object. As you can see on the old Explorer, I really did it. I pulled out one dent right in here using the old soccer ball trick, but this is like too far gone. Paint split. So it was just, and then I had a big dent right here. I think that was from the taillight of the Jeep. And it cracked the taillight. So I bought this tailgate from a local junkyard for $70. Included the privacy glass and all the components within the car. It's in nice shape. Usually up in Minnesota, these rust really bad around here. Presumably, the donor car or donor tailgate is from Minnesota, so there was some surface rust along the seam here at the bottom of the panel. And so I cleaned all that up. Plus, I had to replace a little bit of metal in here. Any areas that hit bare metal or had any kind of chips or anything that got sanded out, I use this SEM primer high build primer surfacer, which goes on real thick, and you can go back and sand that out, and then it helps fill in any imperfections. Red is very hard to cover, so if you primer it white, it's a lot easier when you go with the color that you want to end up with. White is just easier to cover. All right, guys, after a fair amount of preparation, it's go time. We're gonna shoot it in the garage here, get some air ventilation. Here we go. So I got a tack coat down, looks pretty good. No adverse reactions to anything, so we'll just keep going. Got the clear and the color on there. Overall, turned out pretty good. Did get a couple runs, one there, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's another one there. So we'll have to sand those out when it cures in about a week. We're gonna pop this one off, and we're gonna put this one on. And I got my helpers here, right? Go team.
Yep.
Go team, Crash Dad. Right?
Yeah.
Are you proud of your dad?
For what? This or
yes,
that?
for this.
I don't know.
Probably not?
Both. I don't know.
Both?
Because we got a fresh one. I mean, I'm still
got a fresh one? That's a fresh one in there.
I'm still surprised how like this got all messed up, then the Jeep looks like kind of fine, but like you can't even tell.
Yeah.
And you can tell that's from the taillight because it's a good 90-degree angle and the taillight's just a square.
Yeah, there's not a scratch on the taillight, although they had to push it back into place. I saw that last night when I was filling up gas. I'm like, yeah, this cap shouldn't be here. So I just give it a good forearm shiver and it went right back into place. All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
So we got the new tailgate on. Thanks, guys.
Yep, you will.
You did good.
Yep.
So everything lines up pretty well. Then I just got to put all the guts back in. I think the color match is pretty close. All the guts put back in the tailgate. That includes the wiper, the latches, and whatever else is in there. A lot of rods and electrical connections. That's all in. Got the new taillight in. There are a couple areas that I want to reshoot. One, I had a little run in there, so I sanded that out. I want to reshoot that. And then I was putting the glass on back here, and unfortunately, as I was putting it across, scratched the paint.
Sweet mother of God, what is the holdup?
So I fogged in the base coat. Blends pretty good. This spot here too. when you apply the clear coat around the edges, it gets kind of light, furry, misty. When you get that, then I use this stuff here, blends in. You spray that along the edges and it melts your edge into the clear coat that's already there. It's a little bit rough here on the edges intentionally, and that's where we're going to spray the blends. Here you can see it's kind of rough. You can see after spraying the blends, that's now shiny, and the edge will be easier to buff out. The base coat never got close to this line here. So the base coat all got blended below that line. You can see the same thing here. This will just need to be sanded down and buffed out. This is roughed up with about 2000 grit sandpaper, so that should buff out really easily. And then again, all the blending happens in this area here. It's been a few days since this was painted, so I think it's cured pretty well. And so I'm just gonna sand this out. I started with 1500 grit, worked up to 2000 and then 3000. I think that's probably where I'm gonna leave it on this one. So that line is almost indistinguishable on the top and the bottom. And over here, same thing. These are the products I use to buff. These are number 2 3M Perfected. They have a number 1 that's like an extra cut, but because I went to 3000 grit when I'm sanding the paint, I didn't feel like I needed it. Go to the number 1, so I started with number 2, that worked great, and then I finished off with this Boyer's Ultra Pro finishing polish, and it works pretty good. I still like the 3M products, number 1, 2, and 3 for all the finishing, but I use this with the dual action polisher, and it seemed to work. It worked okay. So there it is, all finished up. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Nomadergarage. Super sorry about bumping in your car, Jay. And we're going to return this to the wild.